Cast at 11.
Good evening, I'm Morton Dean, and this is the CBS Evening News. There was more of the obvious from the Reagan administration today, more hints that the idea of a balanced federal budget in the next 4 years is more an old campaign promise and less a practical possibility. A White House spokesman said the goal now is to reduce the deficit as far as we can, as fast as we can. The story from John Ferrugia.
As President Reagan begins a week-long holiday at his ranch, his spokesman today reiterated the president's desire to balance the federal budget. His chief budget axers will meet again in Washington this week, continuing their two-a-day sessions wrangling with the numbers that they hope to put in this year's budget document. Mr. Reagan wants a list of specific budget cuts when he returns after Thanksgiving, cuts that will both reduce the deficit and allow him to keep his campaign promises. Before the election, Mr. Reagan said the booming economy would eventually dissipate the deficit. He pledged no new taxes, a continued defense buildup, and retention of the social safety net. But now, post-election reality has set in. His advisors say the deficit will be bigger than they had projected, up to $210 billion this fiscal year, and continued deficits in the $200 billion range through 1989. The administration is already talking about making cuts in farm subsidies, veterans benefits, civil service pensions, and Medicare. But some of the president's advisors say that won't be enough, leaving the president three unpalatable choices: a tax increase, a slowdown in defense spending, or deeper cuts in social programs. Another major post-election concern within the White House is Central America. Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega asked to meet with President Reagan to ease tension between their two countries. But the White House prefers to keep the talks on a lower level. The administration has warned of grave consequences should Ortega carry out a plan to obtain advanced jet fighters from the Soviet Union, planes Mr. Reagan calls offensive weapons.
But if Reagan really wants to see fewer arms coming into Nicaragua, it should be very easy. Stop attacking Nicaragua. Stop killing our people. Stop sending CIA aircraft to provide a logistical supply for the people who are inside our country, who come in from Honduras.
Tension over Nicaragua could also throw a wrench into what has been an improving U.S.-Soviet relationship. The Soviets have been sending conciliatory signals to the administration, calling for increased cooperation on a number of fronts. While the two sides continue to grope for an acceptable format, it seems clear that both sides now understand the necessity of getting arms talks back on track. John Ferrugia, CBS News, with the president in Santa Barbara.
One of the big unanswered questions about the re-election of Ronald Reagan was whether it meant that American voters were not only ready to follow the leader, but were ready to join his party. Bill Lynch reports on the latest findings of a CBS News New York Times poll.
There is cold comfort in the numbers for the Democrats. Our survey finds, for the first time, roughly equal numbers of Republicans, Democrats, and independents. In 1981, even after the big Reagan win, the Democrats still held an 8-point edge. Today, among white Americans, Republicans hold a 36-28 advantage. Minorities, union members, working women, and the poor are among the most ardent Democratic groups. Our poll suggests the Democrats have a big image problem. Nearly a quarter of the sample has a lower opinion of the Democratic Party than they did 5 years ago. Some of the reasons they gave: internal squabbling, a feeling the party's out of touch, and a distaste for recent leaders like Jimmy Carter and Tip O'Neill. The Republican image, by contrast, has brightened under Ronald Reagan, thanks to his personal popularity, but even more to a stronger economy. That's contributed to a sizable number of defections since 1980. 1 in 10 Republicans surveyed is, like Reagan himself, an ex-Democrat. Another 6% used to call themselves independent. Can the GOP count on its new converts to forge a permanent winning coalition? Our poll suggests that all depends on how well the economy performs. A solid majority is counting on Reagan to avoid a recession in his second term and to work on slashing the federal deficit in half. They also seem willing to forgive him should he break his one big campaign promise.
And any of those rumors suddenly that are being floated around desperately in these last couple of days about some suspected tax increases from our side over my dead body. Don't you believe it?
Dead body or not, a majority in our poll expects Reagan to seek a tax hike. Americans are divided, our poll showed, about whether their tax dollars are well spent. Virtually everyone interviewed believes there is plenty of government waste, but by a big majority, they oppose deep cuts in defense and social spending. It's a tall order, but according to our survey, if the second Reagan administration can steer away from major economic trouble, make some headway with the Russians, and avoid a war in Central America, the Democratic Party could find itself even less able to compete in national elections. Bill Lynch, CBS News, Washington.
Those interviewed for this poll were also interviewed before the election. A total of 1,798 adults were called. There's a possible sampling error of 3 percentage points.
When arthritis pain says you can't, and Caprin's micrograins of arthritis medicine let you say,
I can.
Introducing Encaprin, a better way to treat arthritis pain than plain or buffered aspirin. Because its hundreds of aspirin micrograins are made to deliver unsurpassed relief to minor arthritis pain in a way that's safer for your stomach than plain or buffered aspirin. So when arthritis says you can't, new Encaprin lets you say,
I can.
Encaprin micrograins go to work in a remarkable way. They're made to pass through your stomach without dissolving, so they're safer than even buffered aspirin. And when they leave your stomach, they provide hours of relief to minor arthritis pain in your shoulder, your hand, wherever it hurts. When arthritis says you can't, new Encaprin lets you say,
I can.
When arthritis pain says you can't, remember, Encaprin lets you say,
I can.
I can.
I can.
His silence may be louder than his words. Visiting Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi addressed a rally in Malta today and called President Reagan mad. What he did not mention, however, was Egypt's claim of foiling a Libyan plot to kill an exiled Libyan dissident. For now, Gaddafi is leaving it up to the official Libyan news agency to deny a string of charges from Egypt. Ben McNitt has more on the story that reads like a spy novel.
Egyptian President Mubarak is accusing Gaddafi of backing international terrorism. Mubarak points to what the Egyptians say was a plot to execute former Libyan Prime Minister Abdel Hamid Bakouche and the arrest here of killers hired by Libya and Gaddafi.
He is an international terrorist, and he is financing some organizations, for example, to attack Mrs. Thatcher, for President Mitterrand of France, for Chancellor Kohl, for the King of Saudi Arabia, for the Prince of Kuwait, United Emirates, participating in to kill Indira Gandhi.
Mubarak says the terrorists, 2 Britons and 2 Maltese, 3 of whom have been shown on Egyptian television, confessed to knowledge of the wider Libyan schemes. The arrests were revealed last night by Egyptian authorities, who say Gaddafi was tricked into thinking the Bakouche plot had succeeded. On Friday, Libya claimed credit for Bakouche's death, but he appeared here alive and well. Egyptian agents had penetrated the plot and faked a photograph showing Bakouche lying in a pool of blood. The photo was sent to Gaddafi to convince him the dissident exile was dead. Mubarak has vowed restraint, but moderation is the one quality yet to be revealed by the unpredictable Gaddafi. Ben McNitt for CBS News, Cairo.
Candy bars are the latest target for a British animal rights group. The Animal Liberation Front claims it poisoned Mars bars to protest medical experiments on monkeys, research financed in part by the Mars company. Alan Pizzi reports from London.
Millions of bars of Britain's favorite candy were being removed from shelves today after a militant animal rights group claimed it had injected some of them with rat poison. Warning notes were found inside a number of wrappers, and anonymous callers told British newspapers that other bars had been marked with an X as a warning. A spokesman for the Mars confectionery company said there was no evidence so far that any bars had been poisoned, but they would all be removed for checking anyway. Many storekeepers went along with the idea.
I don't think anybody should sell Mars bars until the old health inspector gives them the all clear to do so.
3 million Mars bars are sold in Britain every day. The potential threat of the animal rights group's action was denounced by the government.
Well, it appalls me. It will appall everyone who has heard about it, that these people are prepared to sacrifice children on the altar of their own fanaticism.
Police are appealing for help and have set up a special incidents room to deal with public complaints and queries about Mars bars. In a call to a London radio station, an anonymous spokesperson for the Animal Liberation Front defended the action.
It's not going to kill anybody. It might make somebody quite ill, which is nothing compared to the suffering that monkeys are currently going through at Guy's Hospital.
The militants claim that here at Guy's Hospital, monkeys are being force-fed high-sugar diets for tooth decay experiments. The Mars bar manufacturers deny the force-feeding claim, but did contribute $32,000 to the research project. The animal rights militants apparently believe that contribution is worthy of rat poison. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, London.
A band of cocaine cowboys opened fire on a jungle camp north of Lima, Peru yesterday, killing at least 15 people. Today, the dead were identified as employees of a U.S. finance program to wipe out coca crops and slow the cocaine trade. This is the latest in a series of attacks by cocaine traffickers trying to halt the crop eradication programs.
Blackout. But both families have rechargeable lights. One has Ready Light from First Alert. The other family has the other leading brand. There's a big difference. Ready Light lasts 50% longer on a single charge, stands by itself, and shines the light where you need it. Get the rechargeable light that lasts 50% longer. Ready Light from First Alert, because your family comes first. Look for the full line of Ready Lights. Great Christmas gifts for the whole family.
Beautiful cars are still part of the American dream, but keeping them perfectly beautiful isn't always easy. That's why DuPont developed a computerized system with 25,000 paint formulas to help body shops match your car's original color. So while DuPont paint makes new cars beautiful, DuPont technology makes them beautiful again. And again. DuPont, better things for better living.
When the burning, itching, and soreness of hemorrhoids flare up, Tux medicated pads give you soothing, cooling relief on contact. For hemorrhoid flare-up, get Tux from Park Davis.
Could your denture cleanser clean a triple stain of cherry, tea, and tobacco?
I don't think it would.
Extra Strength Efferdent removes the triple stain.
It cleaned beautifully. I'm going to switch to Efferdent.
Efferdent removes even stubborn stains between teeth.
Where is the fishing trawler Amazing Grace? It set off from Virginia 12 days ago, but no one has heard from the 9-member crew since Wednesday when the captain radioed that the Amazing Grace was taking on water. The Coast Guard has found no sign of the vessel, and today the search was expanded to a wider area in the Atlantic. Half a tanker is better than no tanker at all, especially when that tanker is carrying nearly 3 million gallons of oil. Part of the tanker Puerto Rican was being shepherded into San Francisco Bay today, where it will be drained of its expensive cargo. The ship exploded and broke up off the California coast last month. They have some miles on them and a few nicks and are in need of repair, but soon they'll be available for resale. They're not talking about used cars, but about 2 used satellites, the communication satellites that were brought back from space to the Kennedy Space Center last week. Today were lifted from the cargo bay of the shuttle Discovery. NASA says they appear to be in good condition, except for a few nicks suffered during the salvage operation. A late autumn Sunday in La Jolla, California, a nice day for an auction, an unusual auction that attracted thousands of people from far and wide. And for some of them, the items up for bid represented lost pieces of their lives. Martha Teichner was there.
Like circling birds of prey, the curious and the greedy picked over the remains of J. David Dominelli's empire. For sale, 6 of the estimated 80 cars he owned. The showiest, a classic 1956 Gullwing Mercedes, worth $100,000 plus. There were big, gaudy rings, a collection of famous autographs, the expensive toys, surrounded by heaps of insignificant bric-a-brac.
The man was obviously a glutton for anything and everything he'd get his hands on. Things that are horrible, great, They have no value.
Here and there, one of the investors who together poured $112 million or more into Dominelli's J. David & Company, lured by promises of 40 and 50% returns on their money in the international currency markets. Lost, spent, stolen, the money is gone.
I came because I suppose I wanted to see some of the things my money was spent on.
The spectacular rise and fall of J. David & Company began in 1979. The veneer of legitimacy was enhanced by Dominelli's relationship with Nancy Hoover, the former mayor of Del Mar. Their closest friend, Roger Hedgecock, just re-elected mayor of San Diego, although he is under indictment now on charges of perjury and conspiracy, accused of funneling J. David money into his campaign. The crash came in February. Bankrupt Dominelli now sits in a San Diego jail. The auction is only expected to net about $1 million, small change that won't go very far in paying off Dominelli's staggering debts.
This is not a brass duck, that is a misprint. This is the golden goose.
6,000 people came to buy. Prices were high. Next week, the same auctioneer will sell off what's left of another fallen fortune, John DeLorean's earliest cars. Martha Teichner, CBS News, La Jolla, California.
The toast of Paris these days isn't food or wine or fashion, it's oil. The Paris-based International Energy Agency, set up during the oil crisis, today is celebrating its 10th year and much better times. And as David Andelman reports, the French don't have to look far for new sources of the liquid gold.
Paris, the city of light and style, landmarks and monuments, fine food, beautiful women, dazzling clothes. Capital of a nation that never troubled itself much about making ends meet, about surviving. For instance, 10 years ago, when OPEC dictated oil policy and prices to an oil-poor France, the French government consoled its people with commercials that became part of French culture.
En France, on n'a pas de pétrole, mais on a des idées.
We may not have oil, but we have ideas. Now it seems Paris may have both, ideas and oil. In the nearby suburbs, part of the geological formation called the Paris Basin, Esso is already pumping more than 2 million barrels during its first year, the derricks scattered between the chateaux and the subdivisions. Geologists think that Paris itself is sitting on a pool of oil, and the French oil company Alpha Aquitaine has asked permission to search for it, running tests up and down the Seine, probably during the summer when most Parisians head for the seashore. What the French government is heading for is just a little more independence.
If we are not willing to be too much dependent on the Middle Eastern countries, I think we have to look for new resources of oil, wherever it is possible.
Wherever may not be just Paris.
If there is oil under Paris, there also could be oil under London.
In fact, London sits on the same sort of geological formation. In Paris, the reserves are deep, 6,000 to 10,000 feet under the city, oil that ELF officials think may be reachable only with the latest technique. Slant drilling, it's called, placing the platforms out of sight in the suburbs, then tapping into a pool of oil, perhaps right under the Eiffel Tower. The only pledge from the oil companies, no, they won't turn Gustave Eiffel's creation into the world's biggest oil derrick. David Andelman, CBS News, Paris.
It has come to our attention that a few of you still think all Buicks are nice big cars. So here's a little reminder. Skyhawk. And for the handful who believe all Buicks are smooth and comfortable but not racy enough, a quick answer. Skyhawk. Just when you think you know all there is to know about Buick, we throw you a curve. Now, wouldn't you really rather have a Buick?
In Santa Clara County, California, a few miles north of the Monterey Peninsula, they grow a remarkably firm, bright red tomato. Stouffer's calls it the perfect Murrieta. Not quite as large as a tennis ball, it's juicy and meaty and filled with the hearty, rich taste of a great sauce tomato. Now you know one of the reasons why Stouffer's lasagna is as good as can be.
If there's one portion of the federal budget the Reagan administration apparently considers untouchable, it's defense spending, spending that's been unprecedented over the past 4 years, but is more necessarily better. David Martin looks at whether bigger defense budgets have given the U.S. a better military.
Desert warfare. American soldiers on maneuvers testing their readiness for a war critics say they are still unprepared to fight despite 4 years of Reagan defense budgets. The generals who command these soldiers say they are better now than 4 years ago.
I've seen a tremendous change as far as the health of the United States Army.
90% of those enlisting have high school diplomas, nearly double what it was 4 years ago.
Brighter guys, a nation that's behind it, and the soldiers who just want to do it.
But there are still not enough soldiers to go around.
How about the strength of your platoon out here? You got as many men as you need? No, sir. I'm running about 50% strength right now.
With more positions than troops to fill them, soldiers must constantly be rotated to keep frontline units in Korea and Germany at full strength. The equipment is changing almost as rapidly as the soldiers. The Black Hawk helicopter, for instance, which pilots say has 2 to 3 times the lifting power of the old Vietnam-era Hueys. But this new technology comes with an old problem, lack of spare parts.
Sometimes 10, 20 days to get a part.
But repair crews say the problem is getting better.
Have you had trouble getting parts?
In the past, we did. But here in the last year or two, we've been pretty successful in getting the parts.
Weapons are only as good as the soldiers who fire them, and the soldiers only as good as their training. This dummy round for a TOW anti-tank missile may sound like the real thing, but the crew chief says there's a big difference.
The actual round is it has noise and a lot of heat. The side of your neck will get hot, the smoke will be there, and it's a good feeling when you see the round going down range and you hit something.
And these crews say they are firing more live ammunition than before.
A few years back, that's where maybe once every 2 or 3 months you may get a missile. Now, within our quality allocation, sometimes we have anywhere up to 8 to 9 missiles during that time, and that's a big increase.
So just how ready to fight are these soldiers? On paper, this unit is rated not ready for combat, based on the fact it has not yet received all the new equipment it has authorized.
But does that mean that the division is any less combat capable? Absolutely not.
You're supposed to be a can-do guy. You don't get to be a major general in the Army by admitting failure. Why can we believe you when you say the things that you're saying?
Well, I guess the best answer I can give you is this. I've been made a division commander, true, but what I've really been given is the responsibility for the lives of thousands and thousands of American soldiers. I'm just not about to compromise their safety, their ability to go to war in order to phony up a report to make myself look good. I'm not going to do that.
Things still go wrong in combat, even in controlled exercises like these. And some of the new technology works better on paper than it does in the field. But to a man, the sergeants, captains, and generals out here in the California desert say they have better weapons and better soldiers than they did 4 years ago. David Martin, CBS News, Fort Irwin, California.
Okay. Right at me? Right.
Now I can't
right
that.
This Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Look, no cord. It's rechargeable. It never needs a cord because this convenient charger stand keeps it continually charged. The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Here's why. The first screen shaves incredibly close. The second screen even closer. The Remington microscreen rechargeable shaver shaves as close as a blade or your money back. And the Lady Remington rechargeable, the perfect gift, shaves without a cord.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. And when many adults get a cough, they play doctor at home. They treat their cough with the same medicine they originally bought for their children. They need one of the adult formulas from Vicks for the coughs adults get with the strength adults need. Formula 44 for coughs, 44D for coughs with congestion, and now Formula 44M for coughs with congestion and a raw, irritated throat. The adult formulas. You can't buy anything more effective.
The adult formulas from Vicks, of course.
We asked Mary Lonsdale if she thought her denture cleanser could clean away cherry stain.
Probably could.
What about a stain of cherry and coffee?
Perhaps.
Or a triple stain of cherry, coffee, and tobacco?
I don't think so.
Then watch Extra Strength Efferdent's powerful Blue Action formula work on a triple stain of cherry, coffee, and tobacco.
It's clean everywhere. Between the teeth. I'm going to switch to Efferdent.
Efferdent is now accepted by the American Dental Association. Efferdent removes even stubborn stains between teeth.
If someone were to ask you to cast a movie about a boxing promoter, what type of character would you choose to play the lead? Quite likely he would be a street tough. Perhaps he would have a cauliflower ear. Likely he would wear expensive white-on-white shirts and a diamond stick pin. No doubt he would chomp on a big fat cigar, and most certainly his name would not be Josephine. We have a report from Carlos Aguilar about a boxing promoter who doesn't fit the stereotype.
Josephine Abercrombie is one of Houston's movers and shakers. She's from one of the oldest and wealthiest families in the city.
It's $12,500 per...
She oversees a vast family empire with interest in oil, real estate, and manufacturing. And among thoroughbred horse breeders, her farm in Kentucky is known as one of the finest. Josephine has moved to the highest rungs of the corporate ladder, but these days she spends most of her time competing in a different arena. Josephine Abercrombie is now Houston's biggest boxing promoter, trying to develop top quality fighters in a city that's not known for boxing.
To me, boxing is one of the most exciting sports there is. I love to see beautifully conditioned people get up in the ring and prove themselves.
In less than 2 years, she's upgraded the level of boxing in Houston, and that's attracting new fans. Many of Houston's other movers and shakers, the kind you'd expect to see at the opera, are buying season tickets to Josephine's monthly boxing series.
We're starved for sports down here, for winners.
Josephine's boxers are winners. None has lost a fight. That success attracted Olympic gold medalist Frank Tate, who could have signed with a more prominent promoter.
She gave me things that I wanted and a little bit more.
More includes a stake in the future after boxing. Each of her fighters shares as partners in valuable Houston real estate and business ventures. Josephine says she and her boxers are in good shape to come out on top, and she has one goal.
World champions and more world champions, that's what we're looking for.
In Houston, they say, Josephine Abercrombie is a champ, a real knockout of a promoter. That's why they're already calling her Houston's First Lady of Boxing. Carlos Aguilar, CBS News, Houston.
And that's the news. I'm Morton Dean, CBS News, New York. Have a good evening and a good week.
The new American Business Morning. Faster, more fleeting, with time more precious. And UPS is there, meeting the challenge every business day. It's UPS Next Day Air, and that means getting it there. Keeping pace with morning deliveries to more people and more places than ever before.
UPS Next Day Air. Morning, morning, morning.
UPS Next Day Air, getting it there every business morning. Getting it there.
Ow!
Have a nice trip, Gladys.
I can't sleep.
You need advanced effective Sominex 2.
You can't buy a more effective sleep aid. Today's Sominex 2 has diphenhydramine, the non-prescription sleep ingredient most preferred by doctors. Helps make you drowsy so you can fall asleep 38% faster than without it.
I knew it was good medicine.
Use Sominex 2 as directed. Safe, sound sleep 38% faster.
Thousands of children left behind by American soldiers in Vietnam still wait for release. The story tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
This is CBS.
Burglars